Kept you waiting, huh?
Morning, afternoon, or indeed good bloody well evening to episode 118 of the UK's #1 gaming podcast. Got that one right. CrossCast. We are part of the Cross Players, a team of mates dedicated to bring you all of our educated opinions on all the incredible games we play, the consoles we love, and the universe of news surrounding them all. And to get things started today on today's CrossCast, I've got some beautiful people with me. Absolutely gorgeous. I've got the... I've got someone that I think's in a drama class. It's Lewis. Hi, Lewis.
I am. Indeed. Very serious
dance.
On my drama. Yep.
Can I anything? Don't. Oh, never again. Okay. Okay. I've got the walking advert. Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
I
don't understand that, but hello. Yep, good.
Can you wear your walking advert? Kojima on your top.
Big fan of the auteur.
And we've got Alex, who hasn't done his hair again, and he's wearing a gym top, even though he doesn't go to the gym. Let's be honest. You okay, mate?
I was at the gym this morning, fuck off.
He does go to the gym. He tells us every time. He tells us every time.
Amount of hours per week that you go the gym, you should be absolutely stacked by now. Well, stacked
I just got the gym.
You should be ripped. That's what they're saying about gyms.
I go to the gym so I
ripped.
can eat. Like, it's just to create more excuses to eat. I don't go to the gym to burn it off. I go to the gym to create space.
How many joking?
You're wearing that all day?
No, I just live in gym gear, but I do go to the gym as well.
Activewear. Going to the shops in my activewear. I'm only joking. You look gorgeous and you look very, very healthy. I am Dan, your host with the most chance of type 2 diabetes. Anyway, we've got a jam-packed show for you today. Before we begin, if you would like to support us, please give this podcast a review on the service you're using. Give us a like and subscribe on youtube.com/thecrossplayers. Head over to thecrossplayers.com for links to all of our content and Discord. I like when you get a laugh like that from Ben. It's rare because it catches him off guard. It's right on its humour. If you are stark raving mad, speaking of humour, hit up patreon.com/thecrossplayers and contribute as little as £2 to help us produce the show and entry into our batshit crazy WhatsApp group. Let's get started and dive headfirst into the news. We're not going into the news, we're going to pick up and play. Type 2 diabetes, early onset dementia. Pick up and play. Lewis, what have you bought, mate?
After months, what seems like years, but I don't think it is, maybe a year, months and months and months of looking and searching, finally got my hands on something. There was actually a reprint, as it's known, of this by I Am 8-Bit. What is this? The Disco Elysium vinyl.
It's like a Magic Eye, but just a really grotesque version of one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite... There's a lot of stuff in there that's a little bit unsettling.
That's very detailed.
What is the actual artwork? What's going on?
I've actually forgotten what...
Oppressed masses
Yeah.
intermingling in a smorgasbord of utter bullshit wordiness.
Yeah, it's from it's all the artwork in the game from a particular thing you can unlock. That's the name escapes me. I can't remember what it is, but you can it's like thought experiments, all of them. It's got a specific name, but I can't remember what it is.
I know what you mean.
Like it's something shit compressor. Ben, I'm seriously developing a severe dislike to this attitude.
I know what you mean. Come on, I'm trying to pull it out of you.
It was the face after. So very happy with it. I think it cost me about £70, which I'm actually all right with, considering the price of some vinyls. And it came from America, shipped from America.
Proper love Disco Elysium as well. So
You do.
Yeah.
You do. It's a very Lewis game. I've got a question on the soundtrack, though. The only thing I can remember from the soundtrack is like a horn going off in the distance. Is that all it is? Just 45 minutes
of horns. It's it's not a clown soundtrack. The Instrument of Surrender, I think that song's called. It's the first one on the album. But yeah, I put it out there to say it's the best post-rock album ever. One of the best, anyway. Okay. I think it's very good.
Post-rock.
Yeah, so it's
very cool.
A rock album using non-rock sounds. So like
like horns.
Sigur Ross. I'm trying to continue here. Sigur Ross are a good example of that.
Yeah.
I prefer Jonathan.
Yep. So pretty chuffed. Chuffed with that. Happy with it.
We're all happy for you. And to be completely honest, after very much enjoying Citizen Sleeper, it has made me have a bit of an appetite to go back to Disco Elysium. So there you go.
And I too have an appetite. Alex, what have you bought?
I bought Dave the Diver.
Okay.
Because
Steam Deck.
Steam Deck, indeed. It is a Steam Deck because it's only on PC
with a Steam Deck
at the minute. Because it hit 1.0 yesterday, so it's been in early access for a while, and it hit 1.0 yesterday, and it's got really good reviews. So I thought I'm going to give it a go. So I picked that up. I haven't played it yet, but it's been purchased.
When did we see a trailer for that? Because I thought at that point it was quite interesting.
It's a good few months ago now, I think. Yeah.
Topical as well. Diver.
Yeah.
Good.
He's upset now that we haven't spoken more about the...
Trying to read my book.
It's fine, it's okay. I'm sorry, Lewis. I'll keep it down. Dave Diver then, I want to pick that up as well, because it's only like, what, 15 quid did you say, sorry?
Yeah, I think it's 10% off just now, just because it's just gone into early access.
Sure,
I have no idea what happened here.
It's turned into the foghorn of Disco Elysium.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Very baleful song, actually. Show some respect.
Is Dave the Diver the killer app for the Steam Deck then? Would you say?
Oh, I don't know.
Seems
Does
like
it have a killer app? Don't know.
Well, maybe it does now. Maybe it
I
does.
think it needs one.
What are those killer console PC exclusives?
You tell me, Sunshine.
What about that game that's a train? You got to run away from like a ghost train. You're also a train. And there's a big train sound comes towards
Charles.
you. Yes, something like that.
It's got choo-choo on it when it's a train.
Yeah.
Choo-choo, here comes a train.
I thought it was one of the songs.
No, it's a Wiggles song.
Ben.
Yes.
What have you bought, mate?
I haven't picked up anything physical. Can't show anything off. I've ordered a couple of bits and bobs, so maybe stay tuned for next week. But I did pick up, on the recommendation of one Daniel Ward, I picked up Sable because you quite enjoyed that. I think
Power bombed her through a table.
There we go. The way you described Sable made me think I'd enjoy it. Art style obviously looks lovely. Looks like one of those nice little, just, I don't know, it kind of got a Journey-esque vibe to it where you can just sort of disappear into it, and it's got a sort of whimsical thing. So I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go. It was like £6 on CD keys on the Xbox. So I thought, why not? Now that I'm using my Xbox again, let's go for it.
I think you'd be
Sable.
pleasantly surprised by it. I think it surprised me at certain points where I thought, okay, this is the game, and then it keeps changing a little bit, which is like quite nice, and then gorgeous as well. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it looks
it. Lewis, what have you been playing, mate?
I'm still playing Zelda.
Okay.
So
happy about that?
Yes, very much so. Still really enjoying myself. In terms of main story, I've not progressed any further. I've done some bits and pieces on the side. I've explored more of the depths. I've tried to get to as many Sky Islands is possible. I have what else?
I don't like the
Koroks.
depths.
It's tricky.
I'm not keen on them. I don't mind it.
Very oppressive.
I'm very adept at attaching a bright bulb, what the fuck it's called, to an arrow, shooting it off so I can see what's happening.
I like that.
See, I don't like wasting my arrows, so I'd rather just drop it and then hit it with a sword.
Drop it.
You could throw it as well, you know.
Yeah, but then you have to run up to it to hit it with a sword anyway.
No, you don't. You throw it and it lights up. That's what happens. Anyway, yes.
For those listening, Ben was just staring intently into the camera.
He was
Lovingly.
lovingly. Thank you.
Lost in his eyes.
What wouldn't do to those eye holes? Yeah, so I was.
Is that Jeepers Creepers?
Yeah, so just exploring around. I've got to the dungeon for the Gerudo last one, but yeah, I've decided to go for a little wander and see what I can see. But yeah, still nothing's really getting a look in, to be honest. That's it. Still Zelda.
Fine. I've still been playing Zelda. Been enjoying it. I think we're all going to probably talk about another game now. Should we talk about Final Fantasy 16 a little bit? Yeah.
We definitely should. It's always exciting, isn't it, when we've got these big games that come out and few of us are playing them. It's like,
I'm just going to go mute.
Best of times.
Yeah. All right. So I'm cooler on this, so I'll let you guys talk positively about it, because I think, Alex, you've already steamrolled your way through this by the sounds of things. You're hitting bosses that are relatively endgame, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but it says 75% on the dashboard now, so I'm 25 hours in. And I've absolutely loved... Oh,
Mad progress.
I was going to say I've absolutely loved this game. I've absolutely loved the highs of this game.
Okay.
The lows of this game are dull as fuck. So, the pacing is all over the place. Like, and I've listened to so many podcasts kind of saying the same thing, but the pacing of this game is really all over the place. So some of these big boss battles are incredible. Like, I've never experienced battles like it in a game. Like, they're so... The production value, like the scale, the music, the cinematics, it's out of this world. And then you spend 3 hours going and picking up bits of sand. Like, no. Like, you just don't need to do those bits. If they had scaled back those bits and kind of just continued the story at a bit of a better pace, then this game would have been incredible. That it's taking the shine off it, but you just kind of then get to the stage where, like, I can't be bothered with most of the side quests anymore. If it's not giving me anything, I don't bother. And I'm not paying as much attention to some of the bits in between, because I'm just like, this is so dull. But picking up the bits I need to in the story. But then when you get to those more... Like, you know, when you're then kind of properly starting to get into the story bits and it's building back up to, like, the next kind of boss fight, and then you're getting right back into it then because you can feel the tension build again. But the pacing really lets it down and pulls it down from what I would say could have easily been a 10 to more like an 8 for me.
Okay, interesting. Ben, similar issues, or you?
I think I probably sit somewhere between Alex and you in terms of how I assess this game. Like, I agree that the highs are spectacularly high. Like, I love the battle system and the fact that it gets better and better and better as you go on. The more abilities and icons you unlock, it just escalates really nicely. I think my issue with it, right, to be honest, if I just switch my brain off, this is a fucking amazing game. This is brilliant. If I'm not thinking about it, this is a superb character action game where I'm just ploughing through these, like, long but ridiculously easy battles. Like, it doesn't feel like a million miles away from Diablo in that sense. Like, it's almost like there's no friction at all. I'm just, hit that button, wait for that cooldown to finish. Okay, hit that, do that special move. And I love it. It's great. And I'm very impressed with the story as well. For the most part, I think Alex is right about the pacing and the bits in between, and some of the elements where it does build up tension, but then that tension sort of just lands with a bit of a wet fart rather than a, complete smashing, blowing your mind kind of thing. It's a really good character action game, but it's definitely not. It's not an RPG, and that is fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Dan, you'll probably. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'd imagine you'll say it's not a Final Fantasy game in the true sense of it. But it's not even an RPG. It's an action game, and it's a very, very competent one of those. But I do miss the complexity and the
There's no
development of like something like a job system, or just decide it like in Elden Ring, just right, where am I going to put my points? How am I going to develop my character? That all of that sort of nerdy RPG shit is just completely gone. Which again is totally fine. It's fun. They have just gone, right, how can we make a fun game?
Yeah.
And make it as accessible as possible to everyone. And they have completely nailed that brief. But it's just a little bit lacking in the depth that I would imagine purists would be looking for. I'm on that front. It's slightly disappointing. And I think Alex is right. I think it probably lands around an 8 for me, which is obviously incredibly good still. But I think and I've got a lot more of the game to see. I think my PlayStation tells me I'm about 40% of the way through, which I find weird because I've only put in 12 hours. So I don't know, but it's lovely, fun to play, satisfying combat, interesting story. But there's just it's as like chiseled as Clive's jawline, I would say, to what it is. They've chipped off all the fat, so it is literally just the most linear action game you could possibly imagine. And the only way I know it's a JRPG is because they say the same things 500 times every time you have a fight. Sick 'em, Torgal. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to throw myself out of the window. But yeah, it's a great game. It is a great game, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near my sort of game of the year list. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan? Anyway,
start with the positives. I love the UI. I love how clean it is. I think there's some weird decisions in it as well. Like when you're approaching it, like this is a high fantasy game, and when you're approaching the door, there's like it feels like it should be in a, I don't know, like cyberpunk or something, but like the open door symbol's like really slick and keeps rotating around. I'm like, you could have made that bronze, or you could have gone for like some simple decisions to make this a little bit more authentic, or at least making that, like shoehorning in chocobos and shoehorning in Moogles feel completely out of place in this game. Like none of the Final Fantasy mainstays, like in high fantasy elements that you get in like Final Fantasy 9 and stuff, does not feel like right at all. More positives, I'd say, in terms of the opening sequences. Like, okay, you are just watching a film, but they're absolutely fantastic. Like the icon battles are incredible. That like idea of a dominant controlling an icon, I was like, oh, now I'm into this. Like, I like that part. That's gripping me a little bit more. You can't even call it plagiarism. How much this is taken from Game of Thrones. Within the first 20 minutes, you've got Jon Snow, you've got Ghost, you've got Hodor, you've got like literally, I can't even be like, you've got the mum,
some woman
Cersei,
that's trying to have sex with everyone to play them off against each other.
And I'm like, and then you read that the guy actually made the entire development team and production team watch back to back all of the Game of Thrones episodes, and you go, oh yeah, well that's fucking why it's how they've gotten away with it. I don't think they have gotten away with it because obviously everyone's talking about it, but that is just absolutely obscene, the fact how much they actually lift from it. And the story is near enough at points beat for beat. I think I was listening to the IGN podcast, and they're bringing out a comparison video of all the things that happen, and there is just like, the Hodor part was the worst.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
really,
I thought that straight away. You're just like, come on.
Yeah.
So what's this? Is it a guy that just says his name?
No,
Not
no,
quite,
no.
but
It's not quite, but it's just
His name's
Gotza.
Open the window.
Yeah.
It just says
Goats.
Yeah. But he's just basically Hodor, like, and he can articulate himself, but he's just not the brightest. And I can't spoil it, but there's a thing he does really, really well when you first meet him that basically like cements him as Hodor, and you just go, "Oh, it's Hodor." And so yeah, the beats it takes from it, and then just the blatant rip off of the story is a little bit disconcerting. That being said, it is still a fun game. I totally agree with you. I think the battle system is a lighter version than what you got in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I think the game benefits from that. It runs... I've not had one glitch. I've not had any slowdown or any tear on it, personally. I don't know if you guys have, but...
It gets worse further into the game.
Okay.
right. Because I was going to say, I think that's another thing worth commending. Like a couple of episodes ago, I was saying like how we have to praise the likes of Street Fighter 6, Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4 for just coming out and just running like a game should on day one.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any issues with this. I'm playing it in quality mode as well, which is a
I
first.
am now
I'm playing in
so,
quality,
because
yeah.
I think performance mode is not quite as good. Like normally
Yeah,
we'd
correct.
go, right, 60 frames is much more important. But yeah, on this, I think this is definitely quality mode is the way to go.
yeah, because I
But
think it dips to like 720 in the action sequences in quality mode.
Okay. You can tell by the faces. I think that was the first thing that I noticed. And you can see it flip at certain points from an FMV into a like a basic cutscene, and then into an action mode. The face just looks a little bit segmented. But then the amount of stuff going on a screen at once, and with
That's
all of the
crazy.
yeah, with all of the icon stuff happening behind as well at times, like in some of these massive set pieces. Go on, Lewis. On you go, mate.
I've not played it. I don't know what you mean by icon.
So you remember summons in the old Final Fantasy games?
Yes,
Where you could
kind of.
summon like Ifrit, or you could summon Shiva, and they come in midway through a game, and then they do a lot of damage, and then they fuck off. Like now, the game is kind of centered. The like, I think somebody explained them as like nuclear weapons. So every single like principality or country has got their own icons. Some have got more than one. Some of them are just within certain people and just like fucking around like in certain places. So they've been built in something a bit different in this game, which I really like. I love that concept. It's very
That's cool, yeah. Like a
Shadow of
kaiju,
the Colossus.
and then you have this kaiju battle where your icon is fighting another icon, and it's
They're the
just-
best bits.
The spectacle
by a
of
mile.
it is just absolutely ridiculous. Loads of like quick time events and things like that, but it never stops feeling cool and cinematic. Every one of those I've done so far.
Simple change to the way it does it, of like just the what to call it, cinematic dodge and cinematic strike. Like even just the inclusion of those things. Like I'm playing on the easiest mode, and you do get like 5 seconds, I think, to be able to dodge something meaningfully. But like it's so much fun just to add in that little bit more element of interactiveness, and I think that's where a lot of action games stumble over, where it will jump into these scenes and you are just watching something again and waiting for it to come back on for you to be able to play. And usually then the boss ends up on half the other side of the screen so that you can get back over to them. This doesn't do that. It's still very much close combat. So yeah, it's got a lot of good stuff going for it, but I think the biggest negative is it's still not a Final Fantasy game. I'm still really disappointed that it isn't, and I thought I tempered that based on everything that I'd seen, and obviously then jumping into the demo for a little bit. But I haven't. I still don't feel it is. I don't feel the story is a Final Fantasy story. It's a Game of Thrones story. It's still fun, but again, the fun that I wanted from that franchise is really well thought out characters, great dialogue. Like some of the dialogue between you and NPCs in this is fucking stupid. And again, the decision to choose certain voice types really fucking bothers me. Similar to that Scottish bloke in what was the game we all
Bravely Default 2.
Bravely Default 2, and then Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with the fucking Leeds, West Yorkshire accents. Like it's just over embellishing certain areas. And we're I'm going to talk like this, I am. And I'm like, fucking hell, why does every character have to have a really extreme version of like their local accents?
Yeah. And it's not even that far away, so it's not like there should be any regional variation, really.
I'm not even sure if you have met a character yet, though, that gets even worse. There's a character that comes a wee bit later on that you're just like, oh my god, that accent is so annoying.
But like Sid in this, I take it you've encountered him. Yeah, Chris Finch, bloody good rep. It's
good.
so odd seeing or hearing his voice coming out of that character. I still, several hours in, can't get used to his voice coming from Sid. And particularly because he's one of the key voice actors in Diablo 4, and I've played a shitload of that as well.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, he's just everywhere at the moment, and every time I hear him, I just see Finchy. I can't get it out of my head. From The Office, if anyone wonders what the hell we're talking
about. Game of Thrones as well, isn't he? He's one of the...
Yeah. And he's a dickhead in that as well, isn't he?
Ironborn.
Yeah.
And that's what they call Ironclad in this game. So there's like people that are...
Yeah.
And it's... Anyway, there's so many similarities, but I'm probably with you guys. It's probably a 7.5, 8 out of 10 game where I'm up to, I'm like 4 or 5 hours in. I am enjoying it. I will play it. We'll continue playing it. I'll probably sooner play this at the moment than go back to Jedi Survivor, just because of the way, I don't know, the way I am actually captivated by it. But it's like morbid curiosity as well, just to see how far I can push my own fury,
tolerance and fury.
It's just so close to being a Final Fantasy game. I just like,
Press L3 and R3 to accept the truth, Dan. That's all I've got to say.
That's all you've got to do. That's all you fucking got to do.
So I've got a question for all of you.
Go for it.
Go on.
Do you think the Final Fantasy name splashed on the box has an impact in how you feel about it? And if
Not
it wasn't
me.
a Final Fantasy game, would it impact your overall thoughts? Because obviously there's a lot going there history-wise with Final Fantasy. If that wasn't there, if it was a new IP...
I'll go quickly first, because there was a game called Vagrant Story that I really enjoyed that Squaresoft brought out. I think it came out because I played them all the wrong way round and got into Final Fantasy at 8 and then went back and played 7 because I found it in a Woolworths and nearly started crying because I was so happy. And then waited for 9 to come out. I played Vagrant Story after playing 7, and I was like, oh, this is nothing like Final Fantasy. And I was like, oh, but this is fine. I'm enjoying it. And because I was really in Squaresoft, then I played The Bouncer, and that was, again, nothing to do with it. And obviously something like Kingdom Hearts came out, and I was like, oh, this is nothing, again, similar to that kind of game. So I'm used to Squaresoft doing things differently, and Square Enix now obviously doing something completely different with this game, but the fact it's got Final Fantasy on the front of it, I'm just like, it's missing a lot of the heart and the beats of those games. And even the fact that within the first, 10, 15 minutes... it tries to knock you off a little bit by doing a really gory death. I don't know if you guys remember it. There's a lot of throat slitting,
blood splattered across a child's face.
Yeah. And there's quite a few of those moments in the first hour, and I'm like, okay, this is again not a Final Fantasy thing, but I'm not getting any character building. I'm meeting this moody kind of Squall-esque character. But anyway, I've ranted.
Go on, Alex, what would you say?
Well, it's definitely not for me, because it was the appeal of this game and how it was different from a Final Fantasy game that made me play it. Because Final Fantasy is just something I've always struggled and I've tried, and it's just not my, a classic, typical Final Fantasy game is not a kind of game that I get on well with. There's no influence there in terms of why I'm enjoying it. Is to do it ain't been anything to do with Final Fantasy. I think if they'd called this Devil May Cry 6 or Game of Thrones the game or something like that, then I'd probably
enjoyed it just the same.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've been wanting to get into Final Fantasy for a long time now, ever since meeting Dan and realising what a lovely man he is. So for me, this was they have made this super accessible version of Final Fantasy that's like games I've played and enjoyed in the past. So for me, it's this is very important, this Final Fantasy game. Within a few hours, I was like, okay, I want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake next, because I get it now. This is cool. Even though I know, the further you go back in time, the less like this game they are, it still just makes me it's endeared me towards the franchise as a whole. So I think, just moving on from that question, Lewis, this is also, we've spent a lot of time talking about the but of it all. But to be completely honest, this is a fantastic game that I have loved, and I haven't had much of a chance to play it this week, so I'm kind of like, you know how a bit of distance from a game just makes you reflect on it and go, oh, really, is it that? If I'd have just carried on playing it like I was at the weekend, just gone, I'd be sitting here going, this is fucking amazing. Like, it's only when I've taken a step back, away from the coalface, I can kind of see it for maybe what it is, but it is brilliant.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It still is such a good game.
It is stupidly fun.
We're sort of forced to overanalyze and critique things, aren't we? And the fact that we're doing this podcast, we have to actually think about what we're playing rather than just playing it and enjoying it. But if I, as I said right at the start, if I could just switch my brain off and just plow through this, I'd be happy as a pig in shit.
Yeah, I need to accept as well, like, old-fashioned JRPGs aren't always going to be the thing that people want, and that a franchise has to change. Like, Mario had to change, but the difference is Mario still brought out 2D platformers and still wanted to appease its fan base, same as Metroid, with Dread. Like, it's just, I'd like the same thing with that franchise, not just, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of any of the JRPGs like Octopath or something like that, where it's a throwback to like 1 through to 6 Final Fantasy games, but not the 7, 8, 9, 10 era and 12, where I just absolutely adored them. So
I guess that will come though. Like,
I hope so.
Eventually, that will become retro, and people will play. Oh, this is a homage to Final Fantasy 12, and that will. Eventually, so. Everything's cyclical. It'll come around.
Yeah.
But one other thing before we move on from Final Fantasy 16, the other thing that it's made me ponder is, we've all settled on this at around 7.5, 8 out of 10 probably. We're all at various different stages of the game. It's been overwhelmingly positive in terms of reviews, settled around like a 90 on Metacritic, just below maybe. Is there an element? I don't mean this in like a dickish way, but like, do websites get more views for higher reviews, do you think? Like, if you say this is a masterpiece, 10 out of 10, do you think you get more clicks than if you say this is an 8?
I think
because I'm wondering, like,
like,
is there pressure on reviewers? Because we're seeing so many like 9s and 10s coming out this year, and granted, it's been a phenomenal year. But I do wonder, is there an element of pressure of like, we got to get them clicks? You've seen all these redundancies and things that's happening in this industry.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, we need to get people to our website.
Well,
and subconsciously, are we going, well, this probably should be a 7 or an 8, but let's give it a 9 or a 10 because ad revenue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like an absolute dick saying it, but it does make me think, is that subconsciously happening in the industry a little bit?
It's a valid point, because I mean, unanimously there between us, we all landed around that kind of 8 point, and I think for valid reasons. And I think it definitely feels, I mean, we might be the minority here, but it definitely feels that it's been overmarked. Like, but
our livelihoods don't depend on people. Like, if nobody watches this, it doesn't make any difference to us. But like, if this was our job, and we needed people to come and watch this video, would we have to be a bit more sensational about, or 4 out of 10, Final Fantasy 16 is the worst game ever? Like, do we have to be more extreme in order to generate?
Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of that as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, just something I thought about that I was like, I wonder how much that is a factor.
There's always been the element of, whenever you write a decent review for a game, you're going to get featured on almost that splash page, that they do, where it's like all the different reviews and the 5 stars of it. And I suppose if you're on that, because you always read a couple and go like, fucking hell, why is that a thing on there? But also it's ad revenue, isn't it? Like you said, like if you've got, I presume quite a lot of ad revenue comes from video game producers and development houses. So if you're reviewing games well and you're generating more views around that kind of, I don't know, let's say that demographic, like you want to make sure that you've got the right people coming to the site, and then part of that is probably attracting them there, whether or not it's, I don't know, maybe let's say a polarized review where it's really negative where everyone's gone positive, or vice versa. But yeah, even then it kind of counts my own point, doesn't it, if you want to be on that splash screen? So It's
It's
interesting.
interesting because when Alex and I went to Play Expo in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago, I had said that I'd be really interested to see, and I've already forgotten again what that website was called, the spike in hits for the 0 out of 10 for Hogwarts Legacy.
Wired.
Yeah.
Was it Wired?
Wired.
Because the hits on like that, the revenue on that would have gone fucking mental.
Yeah.
And then somebody there at that company, and I'm not saying the reviewer, because I do think the actual reviewers themselves are completely like, all the
Unbiased.
work they do is amazing. But somebody there that's watching the ones and zeros in the background, looking at the bottom line, it's like, hang on a minute, we give something a 6 or a 7,
Yeah.
we get X amount of views. We give something a 0 or a 0 to 4 or a 9 or a 10, we get 5 times the amount.
Well,
It's just, I don't know, it's a tricky
Sorry.
one.
I was going to say, well, what's if Wired had just not reviewed it? Would that not have been the most sensible of stances? Not to have said anything at all. However, by saying something, they're probably acknowledging the fact that they're going to get attention from doing so, and that's the kicker. But
And to be like completely transparent, like, although yes, we don't depend on income from what we do here, there is still an element of like, right, Alex, so like take when we've done reviews for Crossbutton VR, there is an element of like, right, we want to write a pithy phrase to sum up what we think of this game in the hope that we get mentioned in that, like an accolades trailer, in the hope that will generate more traffic and get more eyes on us. So even for us, that doesn't really benefit much from it at all. It's still something that we talk about and think about. So it must be something that a massive company does.
Yeah.
Surely. I don't know.
you've broken the Matrix, Ben. You're gonna Morpheus is going to appear soon. Offer you 2 pills. Okay, well, look, I think it's still overwhelmingly positive for it, and it's still something I'm going to finish and enjoy. So, and I'm actually, you know what, really enjoying. Like I said to you, Tears of the Kingdom has got me back into playing games again, and it's got me into enjoying games again. So, got a holiday coming up. We're off to Wales again, near Abersock. So I'm taking a Steam Deck. I'm going to take the PlayStation 5 this time and try and hook up to the telly so I can just play in the evenings. Because why the fuck not? I'm enjoying it. So it's a holiday.
Good.
You don't own me.
That's lovely.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone for any more?
Yes, I forgot that I wasn't on last week, and as I mentioned there, I met up with the lovely Alex at Play Expo in Glasgow.
How was it? How was it?
It was imagine EGX, but it was all off just the tat stands and then some pinball machines.
Oh, all the
some
best
new
bits
Dreamcast
of
games.
EGX.
Oh, you've got it. Yeah, and booths going out of order. I mean, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good to go, and there's something there. But like, because Dan, you kind of said, "Oh, I'd go up," and I felt bad for saying, "It's not." I don't think coming up from Liverpool for that. It's. I would have
You'd have been
worried that you would have
disappointed.
thought it was a disappointment.
I would have seen you
journey.
guys, so it would have been fine. It's okay.
But yeah, that's what it was good. It was good. It was good seeing Alex. It was good meeting up with the Pure Dead gaming guys, Donny, Jess, and my liege. Yeah, so it was good. It was good good to see them.
Alex giggling to himself there.
There's a guy came up to Craig, called him my liege. It was very weird. It was very, very
My liege.
Bowed
Because
to him.
recognised him.
He bowed to him.
Lovely.
So if you do follow Pure Dead Gaming, you know Craig, you must address him as my liege from now on.
My liege.
That just reminded me. Alex, did you say someone recognised you?
It's the same guy.
Same guy.
Really?
Wow.
But yeah, we've made
That's,
it.
that's pretty cool.
I like that. Imagine if
If I
I
recognised me and I was standing next to him. I was just standing like a prick.
That was on the bus before I even
I
got
wasn't.
there.
I wasn't on the bus. Yeah. Yeah, I've got.
Who would?
Sorry,
Okay, here's a question for all of us. Who would react the funniest if they got recognised at EGX this year? Anyone in the group?
Absolutely, Laurie.
Yeah, I was going to say that. What, do you want a job?
Just be like, look at me in the eyes, look at me.
Love it.
Give a chill.
Ben, you've got an
Yeah?
You had an idea for.
Wait there.
Oh, I've had an idea.
You had
2
an idea.
seconds. 2 seconds.
Oh,
Lewis
go on,
hasn't
Lewis.
got round to his point.
Oh, didn't know he had more. Sorry, mate.
Give him
I went
some
away.
time.
Fuck your idea,
and a tangent. Pretend you never said it. I forgot that I've got the pickups. Just quickly, because a couple of
Oh, sugar.
Alex had given me Street Fighter 6, which I have played some
Favoritism.
of. So thank you, Alex. But at one of the tat stands at Play Expo Glasgow, I bought a couple of things. I bought 2 Japanese version N64 games, which were this one I bought just because I thought it was really cool. And everything's in Japanese. I've got no idea what it says. I think that bit there says Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's what that says. With the booklet, cartridges in little plastic bag, lovely. I also picked up this one. This one's the one that caught my eye, and this is Mario Golf 64. And
That's
it's such a
lovely artwork.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Again, it's all in Japanese. I've got no idea
Why
what it
does
says.
Japan have such nice box art compared to us?
Is it
and
nice
America?
or is it just different?
No, it's much better.
Is it?
I think
okay.
It is much better.
But
Have you seen the Pikmin artwork that we've got?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Ugh, come on.
Yeah,
But that
sure.
was £12, and this was 22. But also at that same stand, there was other boxed Japanese versions for Pokemon Red and Yellow, like Kirby's Dream Land, and A Link to the Past, and they were like 140 quid. They were lovely though. They was like,
Are they
"You can open them
still?
up."
They still sealed as
They
well.
weren't sealed. No. It was just very
Wow.
good condition. The guy was like, I can open it up for you. You can see what's inside. I was like, no thanks.
God
But
damn.
they were really, really nice. Even like that, just the artwork, especially the Kirby one for some reason. Like, white and pink zigzag with Kirby on the front. It's lovely. Really, really nice.
That's
So yeah,
nice.
that's what I picked up. Alex bought a Game Boy.
I did buy a Game Boy.
Buy a Game Boy.
Of course,
Yeah.
he had to one up you somehow.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, he hustled the child.
What? Okay, come on. What do you do?
Right,
Do you rip it off? It's mine.
almost. Right. So we were going round and I'd spied this Game Boy. There was a boxed Game Boy with Tetris, a silver Game Boy Pocket, and it was 140 quid. And I'm like, that's a bit steep. And then I was walking along and I seen this wee boy looking at it. Was a translucent one, Game Boy Pocket, and I heard the guy saying, I'll throw Tetris in with it. And I'm like, okay. And then he went
That's how they got you.
no. And
See
then
this pile of dog shit, mate? 500 quid.
so the wee
I'll
boy
throw
was like,
Tetris in. Oh.
the wee boy was like, I'll think about it. And then he's like, I'll be back in a minute. And he gave it back to the guy. And I said to the guy, how much is that? And he went, 45 quid. I'm like, right, I'll have it. He's like,
It's pretty good.
you can't, because
I thought so.
that wee boy's going to have it. So I'll need to keep it here. I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to stand here until he comes back. And then the wee boy comes back, his mum and his dad. And he's a bit like, and he's humming and hawing. And he's like, it's like, I don't know. I've only got a £51 budget, and it's £45. And I'm like, I don't know if I want it. And then he started haggling with the guy. He's like, would you take 40? And the guy's like, no,
Looking at
it's
you,
45.
You've just told me how much you've got, mate. Of course I'm not going to take
He's like,
40.
would you take 40? And I'm like, there you go. And I just gave the guy my card.
Because we were like, kind of hanging around that whole bit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just down here." And he was, I'm just here, and you were like, "I just need to hang around here for like just a little while, just till this guy comes back." But like that boy must have been at it because he had a huge pile of stuff by the end of the day.
Aye, but I ended
He
up
was
seeing him
at
a Wii U at one point, and then something else. So whether he hustled his
Aye.
parents to buy him more or what, I don't know. But he got a good haul anyway, so I didn't feel too guilty by the end.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Alex.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I
I got my
actually
Game
said-
Boy with
though.
Tetris. I was happy for 45 quid. So
and it works. It was good.
And
You
it
were
was
worried
lovely.
that it wasn't going to work. Yeah, it was.
I
Yeah.
bet you whispered to him, there's one over there for £40 if you... You fucking play with that.
Sell me your wheelchair and I'll give it to you.
All right. Your mum's
not that bad.
Okie dokie. Can we move on, Lewis? Are we okay to carry on now?
Apologies. Yes.
You happy? You've shamed Alex suitably enough.
Yep.
Over to you, Ben.
Well, Dan, thanks for handing over to me.
Is
The
there a
idea
script?
I had... no, it sounds like I'm reading it.
It did,
I'm
didn't
not.
it? Okay.
Thanks, Dan. No, well, we were originally going to do this last week, but then Nintendo dropped a direct on our asses, and Lewis dropped out, so we changed the format at the last minute. But because it was like summer solstice last week, middle of the year, we thought we could have a mid-year catch-up on all the games that have dropped so far, games we've missed, games we're looking forward to in the second half of the year.
I have ketchup
How
more
we
than
do
once a
the
year.
Fantasy Critic, where we are with the 2023 predictions, etc., etc. So I thought we could just spend a little bit of time our topic of the week, just going through all of that stuff. Starting with best games we've played so far this year. And Dan, I'm coming at you.
Oh, Cleopatra. That's right, isn't it?
What would you say? What's obviously you've played Zelda that's dropped this year, but there's probably other games that you've spent time with that you'd probably say you've enjoyed most. But yeah, talk us through it.
I'll always get called out by Carl if I don't pick Rocket League. Obviously, I'm still thoroughly enjoying that game. So yeah, I'll probably say Rocket League. I've been playing quite a little bit of that. Sable I played this year as well. Honourable mention to that, although it is a little bit dull, and a Zelda Light kind of game.
Didn't tell me that before I bought it, did you?
No. Does it matter for you? Don't think so. Let's be honest. I'm trying to think what else I want to pick out. So I'll just jump in. I think the one obvious pick is Zelda. So I think someone else is going to talk about that in a minute. I'll let them talk about, and I'll compliment that. But the one I'll pick is Marvel Snap. So I'm laughing about it, but I still think that game is so much fun, and the way that they shake up the meta so continuously. They've just brought out a new mode called Conquest, which is incredible. I finally got to Omega, which is where you basically complete the tiers that reset every single season, every month, where you get to 100 and you get the best possible pride, which is usually a back of a card and like a nice shinier version of one. But Conquest has kind of come along where you can play there's 3 different tiers. So it's Proven Grounds, then there's a Silver tier, then a Gold tier, then an Infinity tier, and you basically got to win tickets for the next tier by completing each of those areas. And what it is, it's like you've got a bar of I think 6 or 8 health at the top. If you snap, and both you snap and you get all 8, then you can knock down most of it. It must be 10 because it leaves 2, so it's got bar health of 10, and you're basically like chipping away at that over multiple games using the same deck. It's so much fun. It's such a really, really clever way of playing the game, where it's almost like Pokemon at times, where if you had just a fire deck and you're coming up against a water deck, you probably know you're going to lose, so you've got to be a little bit clever with what's happening, maybe get a rub of the green in terms of the areas that are getting uncovered in the middle. So it's just, there's just a really, really clever way of playing that game, and a really good meta that's been introduced with Conquest. The main game itself is still really fun. Like I said, I think the win rate is still 50%. They've nerfed pretty much all of the big cards now, and it in a good way. It's not as if they're just nerfing them for the sake of it. It's like Galactus was a really powerful deck and was really prominent in getting to like a stupid win rate at one point. I think it was pushing like high 70s, so they've nerfed that now. It's just very, very well managed, very, very clean. The money that you can spend in it's not too insidious. We all know I like to spend money in these games, and I'll usually refrain from paying for the season pass until right at the end, so I can go back and get all the things.
When you know you've unlocked everything already, kind of thing.
Exactly, and even then you can unlock a really, really good chunk of things for free anyway. So it's got a lovely balance to it. There are some stupid things in it that you can buy like £100 pack, but you can do that in any of the games now that have got consumables or a store. So yeah, I'd say still probably the best mobile game that I've ever played. I'd definitely say that. Other than Grindstone,
I'd agree. I'm 100% with you. If I wasn't so worried about being addicted to it and not playing anything else, I'm still chipping away myself. But yeah, really, it is a genuinely good game. The other one, like speaking of Marvel Snap, the other Disney-owned property, Jedi Survivor. I know you played a bit of that, Alex. This was one of your favourites of the year as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was brilliant. Performance aside, I think just it was such a step up from the first one, and the first one was a good game. But it just, like, the story was much better, the combat was much better. It's just a shame with the performance of that game. It's another one I feel like should have been marked down a wee bit because of how poorly it ran. And you say, like, there's so many games that don't get enough credit for how well they're coming out, but then you think about it, you shouldn't be in a stage where some of these games are coming out in such a bad state. And that's the thing that left a sour taste in my mouth with Jedi Survivor, because I don't think back to that game and think that was a brilliant game. I think back to that game and I'm like, that was like the performance spoiled the experience. Whereas at least when you're thinking, as we go back to talking about Final Fantasy there, the performance in those high bits is perfect. so it takes nothing away from them. Whereas when you're like doing any of those big battles and stuff, like the screen's tearing all over the place, or kind of taking it all out of it. So yeah, it's a shame. But very, 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 very good game all round. Very good story. Nice length and stuff as well. I don't think it kind of hit that sweet spot in terms of how long it took to get through it too. So definitely worth playing, in my opinion.
Cool. I agree. I think.
Would you concur with that? Yeah.
I partly would. I think they cyberpunked it a bit. So I think if you're, let's say you're now used to games getting a patch further down the line that then completely eradicate these kind of performance issues, that's what I'd say a cyberpunk is now to me, where like I'm going, oh, you know what, I'm just going to wait. And I'll wait for it to all get resolved. I'll wait for it to be clean. I'll wait for it to be 60 FPS without any sort of tear. And like, I mean, the tearing in that game is insane. It's so bad. So yeah, I'm cyberpunking it. I'm putting it on the shelf. I'm not going to play it until it's fixed.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. And I know, Lewis, you've already said you're kind of planning to do the same with Jedi Survivor, right? Like waiting until, you know, it's all sorted and it comes down to a more sensible price. But Lewis, what else for you has been a big hit this year? Well,
yeah, I think last time I was on, this has been a tricky year for me. I've not played a lot. I had just forgotten about a game up until a minute ago. So I've only completed 4 games this year, and I'm only going to include. That's a lot of shite completed games. But really, so Zelda is the best. It is the best game I played this year. It's like imagine Breath of the Wild, but just with some extra stuff thrown in. It really does change up the way you play that game. I think it's the game I kind of need just now in this lull where I'm struggling with sticking with everything really, like including like I know Ben, you played Citizen Sleeper. I kind of just dropped off that, but I don't know if it's all me not wanting to play games because I knew Tears of the Kingdom was coming out. So yeah, like there's Zelda, there is Metroid Prime. It feels like a million years ago that I played that.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
When was that? Was that like February, March time?
It was February, March, because the one I've just remembered is Fire Emblem Engage. I was like, man, that was this year as well. Was that before or after?
That, didn't you?
Yeah, before or after Metroid Prime. I was like, genuinely couldn't remember. I think roughly around the same time. But yeah, it's a tricky year, but like the game that outweighs them all, and probably will continue to outweigh for this entire year for me, is Tears of the Kingdom. There's no other game that's coming close, to be honest. It's just the kind of, but it's just my kind of game. I'm at that point now where, I said it before, I struggle with newer type games because I'm too lazy to get into them. Zelda, it's like, even though there's a newer style of game, that Breath of the Wild loop, it's still a Zelda game. I know what I'm getting into. All this newer stuff like Hi-Fi Rush, we spoke about that. Alex's game really didn't sit well with me, despite apparently it's meant to be good. But you know, I think in years to come, people will be like, actually, Lewis Wilson, he was right. He's dead now, but he was right.
Nah.
Died of misery. But no, coming back to you then, Alex, to clap back. Hi-Fi Rush was one of yours, was it?
Hi-Fi Rush was one of mine, I think, because that came out and that shadow dropped from that direct, and it just had a lot of buzz about it at the time. But it was so good. Like, I really, really enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush. Like, the whole experience, the story was good, the presentation was good, the action was good, the music was good, everything was good. And they're still adding to it. There's more DLC coming, I think, the next few days. Just a really fun game. Another
and very much needed from Xbox at the time. Like, they needed a W.
Needed. Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Fair enough. For me, Lewis, you mentioned Metroid Prime. I think that was the first game that I was like, couldn't put down, and I was very happy. Again, like I said with Final Fantasy, I really wanted to get into a Metroid Prime game because I had struggled in the past, and that this was the one. And I think the remaster was done in a very kind of un-Nintendo way as well. The way you look at the 3D Mario All Stars thing, which was just completely phoned in. This was like lovingly remastered, and it it held up really well. Kind of played like a modern game. I was quite happy with that. And it has been the kind of like year of remakes as well. Like Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp was another one of my favourites. And then the big one was Resident Evil 4. Was been probably my game of the year so far. Toss up between that and Tears of the Kingdom. But I think probably Resident Evil 4 just edges it because I couldn't put that game down at all. It was just so good. And I'm really struggling to keep it together because Lewis and Dan are absolutely creased up at adjusting the show notes as we go.
Oh, hilarity.
He started giggling. I just had to go, because I saw him type. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
No, that was good.
That was very good.
So those are the games we've enjoyed so far this year. Any games that have come out that we feel like we want to sort of get around to? Alex, I think the big one, the big elephant in the room, Alex, is that one you're holding right there, Tears of the Kingdom. I think
It's coming on holiday with
only
me.
person on Earth. Okay. And when are you going on holiday?
A week on Monday.
And which centre parks was it you're going to?
Oh, I'm telling you. I don't want spotted.
Tears of the Kingdom and also Resident Evil 4. You want to get around to that as well, right? Are you waiting for the VR?
Yeah, I
version
think
of that?
Resident Evil 4, I'm definitely going to wait for VR because, I mean, that's probably, I didn't mention any VR games in my game of the year, but there's definitely been a couple of them in there as well. Like, I'd probably have to pick out a couple in Red Matter 2 and probably now Synapse. And Walkabout Mini Golf, obviously.
Of course.
But yeah, I'll wait for the VR version of RE4.
Yeah, Lewis, we've already mentioned Jedi Survivor. I think both of us wanted to get around to that, but also, just according to the show notes, you wanted to get around to Female 11 and Female 16 Too Old. Is that right?
No.
Are those your choices?
No, I don't think so.
I'll get around to them eventually. That's what the show notes say. I can only assume you've typed that in yourself.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16. Eventually, at some point, I'll get around to that.
You reckon? Waiting for a price drop?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Price drop in this time. I don't think I'll get around to it this year, but definitely
Right.
at some point.
It will go on to PS Plus, won't it? Onto the one of the tiers, with it being exclusive. Is it timed or is it just exclusive?
I think
or
it's timed, but
Is it timed? Okay.
I don't know if you'll ever see it come to Xbox. A bit like 7 Remake at this stage. So.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah. I think for me, Dead Space, that remake, I wanted to get round to. I actually saw that today. It was dropped down to like its lowest price ever. It was like £42, and I was slightly tempted to pick it up.
It'll
Scary,
go on
isn't
Game
it?
Pass soon.
Yeah, true. But what, early next year, you reckon?
No, it'll be this
It'll be
year.
a
It'll
year
either
then?
be. It'll be. Was it 6 or 9 months? It'll either be July or October.
No,
Well, maybe that's why it's dropped in price physically.
Alex
Maybe
knowing
they
what's
know something we
happened.
don't.
Blooming Jill Spencer there.
He knows. Octopath 2, and then, yeah, as we mentioned, Jedi Survivor. I want to get around to that one eventually. And probably, I'd like to go back and spend a bit more time on Fire Emblem Engage now that Lewis has reminded me of its existence.
How far did you get in that?
5 hours, maybe.
Did you?
Not far. Yeah, not far at all. Far enough for one of the key members of my party to die permanently.
Yeah, was that the first battle or something?
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, is this person like a key character? Yeah, they're really powerful. Oh, I've ruined my whole playthrough. Dan, you mentioned Jedi Survivor, going back to that. Anything else
Yeah.
you kind of want to loop back on?
Now that you said Fire Emblem, I want to go back to that. And I rebought Three Houses, so I want to go back to that as well, because I still think I've missed something on that, which a lot of other people enjoyed, you guys especially. Mass Effect Trilogy, I bought that on the deck, so that's something I
Oh, nice.
know a load of people revere those games, and I was more of a Dragon Age guy, so I'll definitely enjoy them. I just need to go back and play them, so I've got the trilogy there to play the remastered version. And then Alan Wakey Wines I need to go back to as well. So Alan Wake, I bought the remastered version and just never played it. It's still in the cellophane, so get it out, play that game, as in get the
PS
game out.
Plus game this month as well now.
It is typically, so I might just leave it in the cellophane and then, yeah. Was cellophane another word of mine? What?
Typically.
Just say typically.
Okay, cool.
Bollocks.
Upcoming games we're hyped for the rest of the year. I think it's a pretty even spread. Dan, we'll stick with you. What are you most hyped for?
Starfield.
Forthcoming games.
I'm still saying
Starfield.
Yeah, I'm saying Starfield. I think I wasn't, and then we watched the Xbox showcase, and I was like, yeah, I'm hyped for it. Shit. And Alex and I were texting the whole time, and then writing on the Discord, the crossbase.com/Discord, and just completely enamoured with what was seeing. It was just previously all of the videos and all of the trailers were like it just felt like a shit version of No Man's Sky. Then this one was okay, this is Fallout in space, and I was waiting for it to be that, so happy.
Funnily enough, it's gone from that to like one of our most hyped games.
Yeah.
Because ahead of making this show plan for today, I listened back to our predictions episode.
Okay.
And we spent so much time going, Starfield, come on.
Looks shit.
It's going to be shite.
Yeah,
but now it's...
But it did.
So, no, you didn't. To be fair, you've been resolute in your pro Xbox approach to fucking everything.
You fucks everything.
But no, it was quite interesting to go back and then how it flipped just from that direct and that deep dive for me as well. It's just, it does look very cool. Very, very much looking forward to that now, which is nice. It's nice to have things to look forward to. Lewis, you've got a couple of big things to look forward to.
Why?
Yeah, Alan Wake 2 initially. Really looking forward to that. It looks pretty scary. I can also see you've mentioned that, so I've got another one. Super Mario Wonder, I think looks brilliant.
Looks awesome.
Just what I need. A nice 2D platformer, old school.
Do you think
Love
Alan Wake 2 will be too scary? Because I'm like, I really enjoyed Alan Wake, as in when I remember playing it when I was younger. And Control, obviously we all love Control, apart from most of us love Control.
Absolutely.
Most of us enjoyed Control, apart from the one song. And I'm just worried that it's, I don't know, maybe gone a little bit too horror for me. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think there was an interview with Sam Lake, who, even like this was last year, maybe around when it was announced, and he's like, we've really gone, paraphrasing, gone over the top. It's very, very scary. And there are bits in more so the Control DLC where I think it's maybe the Alan Wake DLC that is quite unsettling. So if that's anything to go by, this should be pretty scary, I think.
I love that. More unsettling, just bodies hanging throughout the game. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Have you got, Lewis, any amount of trepidation in terms of, like, they've come out and they've said there's not going to be a physical version? I think there will be eventually down the line, but like, is there any element that's going to be slightly more budget than maybe that preview appeared to be? Like, because they're working on a lot of projects simultaneously. I just wonder, is it? Have we seen like the best of it, kind of like we saw with Cyberpunk, and then the rest of it's going to be like, oh, it's actually.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I can know they've got different. There are different directors for whatever games, like, and different teams that work under those directors that I don't think are mixed in any way. So I'm not worried about it coming out digitally only. I don't care, to be honest.
Could it be episodic?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, it's almost like it's an episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the first one is.
I'm just thinking if they do the same with this, and that's why it's digital, similar to like, what was it, Life is Strange? That's what they did. They brought episodes out every so often and dropped those rather than. I think they would have said that, but
yeah,
I don't know. That would be a cool twist if they didn't say it. Though.
No, it would be cool. I'd like
and then
that.
you find out, because they've been really vague about the reasons. Initially, it was like, oh, it's to keep the costs low, and then last week they came out and said, oh, it's so we can keep working on it until the last minute to make it the best version possible. Which both of those sound a bit bullshitty. So there might be something else. I think it looks excellent from that last preview we got. Suddenly very hyped for that as well.
You think you're going to play the first one?
What, now that it's coming to PS Plus? How long is it?
12?
Maybe. How much like Control is it?
Don't let him get you, Lewis, because he did this with Final Fantasy 12 and still does this with me with Final Fantasy 12. So don't let him get to you. Just ignore him. Just ignore him.
I'm just glad I never gave him a copy control, unlike what happened with Final Fantasy 12.
Why'd you have to rub that in? I was on your side then.
I wasn't rubbing it in. I'm trying to get Ben. I'm trying to get Ben in
You look like a
trouble.
fucking floating head. You better wind your lack of
I
neck
was a
in.
start. I was trying to get Ben in trouble there because he's got that still and he's not giving it back. He says it's a gift. You say it was not a gift.
I like Final Fantasy now, so I'll get around to it. That's my next plan after 7
Don't
Remake.
try and pull me back in. I'm not fucking accepting that as a reason.
Alex,
I can't believe I got around.
Starfield.
I was trying to get Ben in trouble.
You're ahead.
Obviously, you're hyped for Starfield. You're also hyped for Forza Motorsport?
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, because that's me.
Why? What is possibly interesting about Forza Motorsport?
It's cars and it's racing.
But, like, given how you reacted to Gran Turismo 7, and it's very much like
Oh, but
Xbox's
Forza's
version
never
of
been
that.
as bland as how bland Gran Turismo is.
Motorsport is pretty bland.
No, but even
very-
even how they presented it in the career modes and stuff have always been a bit more exciting. And I think the way they're looking at this, it feels like career modes, but it looks incredible, and I'm excited for it, whether you think it's bland or not. Right? Okay. I don't need to justify my excitement
I'm
to
personally
anyone.
looking forward to it. So you don't have to. I'm not attacking you. I'm just like, where's the hype coming from?
I've been
What
hyped
are
from
you
this since
excited
they
for?
first revealed it, to be fair.
Okay, cool. Fine. Happy days. Happy days. Yeah, I think they missed it. So
Can I mention one
That's
more
me.
that I didn't write down?
of course you can. Of
Which
course
has
you can. I'll
probably
just
more
sit back and
become
do some
hyped
reading.
over the last week or so. Cocoon.
Yes. Oh, and we got a release date for that.
We get a
today,
release
didn't we?
date for that tonight. So yes.
What is it? 29th of September? Did we say?
Yes, September 29th. Not my anniversary
Nice.
or my
Man,
birthday
you look
or anything.
Not
Is it actually or not?
It's not. No, it's
Okay,
nothing.
good.
all you guys have.
Good.
We'll get to this in a minute. All you guys have used your picks, haven't you? On Fantasy Critic.
Oh, well,
Yep.
Dan, jumping ahead. Why don't we get to that right now? Let's talk about Fantasy Critic. Alex. We've jumped the gun, we've switched around the order, but since we're talking about it, where are we? What's the latest? How are these first 6 months gone on Fantasy Critic? Give us
Terribly.
the breakdown.
Terribly.
What are the standings? What has been the movers and shakers
if
over the
we
last
look
few
at the
weeks?
actual standings, so we've all had
Can I just say, before you start, again, listening back to our predictions episode when we also did our Fantasy Critic picks, Alex, at the start, when we all did our initial picks, you were projected to come first.
no projected
Just,
to come
Oh
last.
wow, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice guys finished last.
Yeah. So if we look at actual points, we've all had 4 or 5 games released each. So Ben and
Yep.
Dan have had 4. Me and Lewis have had 5. Lewis is currently first with 67.19 points. Ben is second with 65.26 points. Dan is third with 47.49 points, and I am fourth with 19.53 points.
After 5 games.
Mainly due to the shit heap that was Redfall. So, yes.
Amazing.
But still all to play for. We've got like half the games to come.
Yeah.
If we look at the projections, Ben is projected to come first in 113.26 points.
Crazy.
Lewis second in 91.91 points. Dan third in
Yeah.
83.88, and me last in 67.95. But I
Let's
still
get
think I
above
could
20.
win. Like,
Well, we've seen how accurate the projections are. I
Well,
don't
yeah.
think there's much to go on, is it?
I mean, if if Starfield really tanks and isn't as good day one, there's a chance. But apart from that, I've got no chance.
What are your biggies that you think that you've got coming out in the next 6 months? Like Dan's, those two.
would you want me to go through?
Yeah, go on.
What's that's a good.
Well,
good
my
shout,
last
actually,
my
what we've
last
got
one's going to be
remaining.
Cocoon as well, by the way. So I bid for that. You guys can't bid for it.
I can.
No, you can't you?
Oh, he can because he can drop.
I can drop
Senua's Saga.
Senua's Saga.
Ah, bollocks! I've got more money than you.
Now you've
No, you
revealed it,
don't.
man. You've told
Shit.
us.
No, you don't. I've got $80.
Oh, he has as well. He got $8.
Oh,
Shit!
this is the beauty of it.
So I'm going to bid
So we-
33. So no matter what you did,
Well, your voice went way before.
yeah.
Now who's the loser?
Don't. That's like
The secret bidding has been the most fun part of this. Like,
No, it
I
wasn't.
loved how on last
you,
week's
it was.
podcast
Shithouse.
we were talking about the Nintendo Direct, and then Persona 5 Tactica came up, and Dan was like, "Do you think you might bid for that in your fantasy?" Like, obviously trying to goad me into doing it. And then come Saturday night when all the bids, both I think me, Dan, and Alex had all bidded on Mario
Wonder.
Wonder.
Alex's last game, and he's fucking tight with it. And he was like, "Oh, bid $31. You've got 80 in the bank. You could have won it."
you never know.
Because I almost bid like $1 over you, Dan, no, over what your remaining budget is, just to be a gobshite. But then I was like, no, Alex might actually bid for this as well. But he's never going to go over like a certain threshold. So yeah, that was good.
I need something to be cancelled to make any more bids. Can't do it. Can't drop anything either.
Yeah,
Done that already.
That's my concern. Is I've got Gumbrella in mine, and there's been no release date announced for that at all. So I'm like, and I haven't heard anything this year. So I'm almost like, I'd love it if they just came out and said it's not coming out this year.
Are you going
Yeah.
through
in a minute?
Alex,
I
are you
don't
going through the
know how-
games?
Yeah, so I don't know how the super drop works, but I might get to drop Redfall if I'm sitting last, and then get to pick something else, so that I could pick Cat Amongst Pigeons.
How's that? Have you
He's just thrown that little rule in for
Where's
himself.
No, it's
super drop?
already
There's been
in
no
there.
mention of that thus far.
I don't know how it works though. I know there is this thing called super drop to try and like even it back up, and I think it's like either the last one or the last two get to drop a game, but I think it depends how many people are in the league.
Sounds like someone's been paying the DLC. That's what I reckon. A little bit of sly money. Fancy critic. I don't think you should do it. Super drop.
So Lewis games to come has got Alan Wake 2,
Yep.
Silk Song, which is probably not coming this year.
Yeah.
Prime 4, which is probably not coming this year.
Maybe. Christmas
good-
release.
Goodbye Volcano Highs looks decent, and Assassin's Creed Mirage looks decent. So
That's the one I keep on trying to drop.
I think you're alright.
I think it'll be
I
like
think that was
an
scored
80.
in the 80s. So I think
His
you've got it.
counter
Yeah.
pick's not great though, is it? Let's be
Counterpick
honest.
Spider-Man
No.
2, which is going to score
None
in
of
the
ours,
80s, I'd
apart
imagine.
from Alex's counterpick, are good though. Like all of
No.
ours are terrible.
Very bullish from.
What
all
does
of
it do? Like, what does it do to the scores? Like,
So for every point above 70, it takes one off of yours. So it's a
Say like,
negative.
let's say Alan Wake 2 gets an 85.
yep.
I'd get minus 15 points
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that,
yeah.
wouldn't I? Yeah.
Okay.
So
So Starfield
Not great.
gets a 95, Dan gets minus 25. Minus 30.
that would be amazing. Who else has got what?
So
coming?
Ben's got Forza, which is why he's probably looking for it. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who raised his name, which did get release date, I'm sure, from November, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
Pikmin 4.
Banger.
Armored
Yes.
Core 6, which I think that's previews were a bit panned.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
reckon high 70s for that.
I think that could
Probably.
be lower.
Yeah.
And
Fires of
Super
fruit.
Mario Brothers Wonder. He's last.
It's at least a 90, surely.
Don't know. You know, like
I
the
think
last,
mid to high 80s probably.
Yeah, I was going to say the last. couple
I think it'll
haven't
hit
really-
into the 90s. And then I'll hit 90s.
Nah, it'll be too simple for 90.
Don't
I
know,
think
an
it'll
elephant's
be-
worth 10 points in itself, so
Yeah, like so.
That's what they say.
packed his trunk.
They never.
Very good. All right. Any more updates on Fantasy Creek?
Yeah, so I've got
Nice.
Spider-Man 2, Starfield, Hellblade to drop because it's been delayed, Sea of Stars, and Mortal Kombat 1. So the games I've got to come, I think, have
Pretty
scored pretty
good.
well, to be fair.
Yeah. So if
but-
we, could all even up, particularly this super drop thing you've just invented. That would be.
I don't
really
even know if it's a
nicely,
real thing. So,
no.
and then Dan's got Plucky Squire, which I'm really looking forward to if it ever
Looks excellent.
comes out. It needs a
Looks
release
excellent.
date.
Hope we
Oxen
get
3, which is fairly soon. Mino the Hollower, which
Less
is
than
not
2 weeks, I
sure.
think.
Hades 2, which is not going to come out this year, and
Not
Lies
coming
of
out.
P, which is looking decent in the preview
High
demo.
70s,
People
I
are
reckon.
like 8,
Yeah.
and then
Agreed.
so and Starfield as his counter pick.
I wish I'd picked
Oh.
Hades 2 as my counter pick. again, going back to the predictions episode, I'm in an iron about whether to pick that, and then I ended up going with Alan
doesn't
Wake
come
2.
out, then you
Gutted.
You won't
You
get
get
it, will
0.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
0, which is good, really, for a counter pick.
Okay.
But cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing this.
All to play for.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing this next year. Now we've all got like a rough idea what's going on. I think next year's when the
Gets
real game will start.
competitive.
Yeah.
It's not going to be fun, that.
True.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be like the NFL.
Alright, so-
We're going to be like talking to each other, trying to like trade draft picks. Can I go first? I'll trade you this.
So before we move on, we've got a quick catch up on some of our predictions. I'll just focus on the ones that have been, that have kind of had some movement on them. So for me personally, one of my predictions was the Switch will win this year. So of all the consoles, it will have the best releases for the year.
Well,
How do we feel about that so far? I feel like Tears of the Kingdom. It's got a brand new Mario game.
Tears of the Kingdom.
I think we might be. I don't know. I feel reasonably confident about that.
Probably
Yeah.
not. Probably not.
PlayStation and Xbox have had reasonably quiet years. Obviously, Starfield could sway that, but I don't know. I think feel all right. One I feel less confident about is Starfield will be shite / underwhelming. And I've got a little note here next to this. Dan says Redfall could be Game of the Year. Just to take the heat off me a little bit.
Gaming experts.
Yeah.
Fucking love it.
This whole conversation we had, we were all just like, yeah, I'm not sure. It's not really. I can't really see the appeal of Starfield. And then we spent about 10 minutes going, Redfall, on the other hand, looks like it was really fun and interesting.
What did I say about Redfield? Surely I said it looked rubbish.
I don't know.
I feel like I've been saying that since
I
I
think
first
you
seen
were
it.
quite quiet. I think you were just gritting your teeth. Dan's predictions: Final Fantasy 16's Metacritic will be below 80, which it's.
Should
I
have
think it's
been,
currently
maybe.
sitting at 88. Yeah, probably right. It should have been, but it's currently sitting at an 88. And also, I mean, you're going to get points for this, as far as I'm concerned. Sony will announce a new Vita.
No.
But he went on. The discussion did continue on, and we ended up sort of getting it might be some sort of cloud streaming device. So as
That
far as I'm
doesn't stream the
concerned,
cloud.
What?
as far as I'm concerned, there's points on the board for Dan.
That's closer than you've ever
Yeah.
got
Well done.
sunshine.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, let's see, because Alex's predictions were a sequel to Dreams,
Were you
the
high?
game that has been discontinued.
Well, they might still announce a sequel,
Yeah.
but it's just not called Dreams anymore.
Yeah, that will be announced and heavily focused on VR.
Yeah.
I think you're in your VR, like you'd pre-ordered it at that
Yeah.
stage. You're in your VR
Oh, yeah.
element. So that was one of your predictions. Another one, which is, I'm afraid, has failed miserably. Tears of the Kingdom will fall below 90 on Metacritic,
Oh.
Should have.
and it is very much
Should've. He didn't
96.
play it yet.
at the moment. But those weren't the least accurate predictions we've had. Lewis, yours, a couple of yours. Silk Song will release on February 14th.
I didn't say what year.
Said
true,
that
you
last
keep
year as
saying
well,
this.
yeah.
2023
Every year.
predictions.
And you failed one, I think, within the first month of the year. Any Xbox exclusives will be rated 80 or less.
Yeah, but I'd like to caveat that, which I'm pretty sure I
Hi-Fi
did,
Rush, 87.
which is nowhere near an 87. It is not an 87.
It isn't. It
It's-
isn't. I agree.
I'd say 77 at a push.
The numbers, I mean, they're all there.
The
for all to
numbers-
see. Metacritic, 87, as things
Hips
stand.
don't lie.
Hips don't lie. So there we go. Terrible predictions. I think so far Dan's the only one with anything approaching a point.
I might win
So,
something this year. Fucking hell.
Might actually win something, so that's good. Speaking of Dan winning something, is there any appetite for a quiz?
Yeah.
Because I've got a wee quiz lined up. If you've got the energy, you got the time, we can get
I'm
into
good
it.
at quizzes.
Let's find out. Let's find out. Right, strap in, lads.
Strap
Can I
on.
ask
I've had this all.
Can I ask a
Go on.
question about the quiz? Please,
Sure.
let me know if you're going to say this. Who's the
Okay.
quiz by? Is it by AI device or by a person?
It has been made, crafted, painstakingly crafted by a human being.
Right, 2 kids on Fiverr. in Thailand.
Mr. Jean.
So, no, it's not. So what we're going to do here, to celebrate the release of the latest installment in Dan's favourite game series of all time, today we're going to be playing Final Dantasy. All right? All great quizzes have a great name. In true JRPG style, here's a convoluted explanation of what's going on. I'll try and do it in a Clive voice. We join our tale as our hero Dan has ventured far, far north to a mysterious and foreboding wasteland, even more mysterious and foreboding than the wasteland he came from. After a frankly unnecessary amount of random encounters with heroin-crazed porridge monsters, Dan seeks refuge in a cave. With the light fading fast and his once immaculate quiff wilting in the dank air, Dan finally allows himself a moment to rest as he searches his trusty Louis Vuitton knapsack. Alas, all that remains of the supplies Dan made his wife prepare for him, even though she'd actually had a really busy day as well, was a jar of Lloyd Grossman korma sauce.
You're a twat.
The weakest healing item in all of the land, but he guzzled it down regardless. Refusing to waste a drop, Dan uses his weird little Among Us thumbs to get the remaining sauce from the sides of his mouth. But then, ambush! Perhaps alerted by the unfamiliar scent of exotic food or overpriced skincare products, a great two-headed monster appears. It lets out an almighty but completely unintelligible roar. What you fucking doing in this cave, you wee gobshite? Without a moment's thought, Dan draws his sword, which he got with some game he'll never play, and prepares to battle. Cue battle music. Okay, listen about this. Okay.
I really fucking hope Stacey's in.
She had me fucking recording it, mate. She already left me.
Hi, Stace.
Okay, so Dan, you are on your own here,
Okay.
as you got from the backstory,
Yeah.
and you're going up against the two-headed beast of Lewis and Alex. But you will be pleased to know, especially you, Dan, this is a turn-based battle.
Oh.
Yeah? None of your action combat, strictly turn-based. But it's not going to be easy. If both Lewis and Alex get the question right, they will do 2 points of damage.
Shit.
If only one of them gets a question right, they'll do 1 point of damage.
Okay.
If neither of them get the question right, 0. So there we go. And even though they are a potent attacking force, they are completely unable to defend. So, since there's only one of you, Dan, you can only inflict 1 point of damage at a time.
Okay.
With me so far?
I'm with you.
And since you have been blessed by the gods with the agile ability, you can also choose to defend on your turn, which will nullify 1 point of damage. Okay? It's all very JRPG. You getting me so far, Dan?
I'm enjoying
with
this.
me?
Keep going.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So you do 1 damage point. So, if you think Alex and Lewis will have both got a question right, if you defend, you will only receive 1 point of damage as opposed to 2.
Yeah.
Fuck, what's the time?
But Dan, there's more. You've got one final trick up your sleeve
Is this-
to turn the tide in battle. Don't interrupt me, for fuck's sake. A single-use summons named Narcissus, wielding the power Altruist's Lament. If you choose to call upon
This is a
Narcissus...
fucking character assassination. This is not. If the game ends at the end of this, you.
If you choose to call upon Narcissist for his power, for 1 turn only, you will deal 2 damage and be completely shielded if you answer the question correctly. If any of you answer your questions incorrectly, your action will be ineffective. Please get WhatsApp at the ready. So you can each send me your answers privately within 5 seconds of me finishing the question. Lewis, I'll come to you for questions in a moment.
Thank you.
Both parties begin the battle with 5 HP, and I will do my very best to keep score in this ridiculous game that I've created for some reason. So has everyone got WhatsApp at the ready?
Yes.
I've got WhatsApp there. Dan's already called me a twat. This is excellent. Yep. Okay. Lewis is there. Alex, just send me a little text just so I know you're there as well. Good. A little devil face. Excellent. Let's begin with the first round. Any questions before we begin?
How many points of damage does Dan have?
Dan does 1 damage per hit,
No,
unless he's using his summons, which does 2 damage and completely shields him.
No, how many?
For that turn only.
5.
What's his health?
5.
He's got 5 health points.
5
You've
health,
got
okay.
5 health points. Okay. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. I'm not even sure I'm with myself, so that's good.
Do we need to make beastie noises?
You can make whatever noises you want. Let's begin. I've got a notepad. Right. Are we ready?
Buzz on.
Round 1. These will be fairly simple questions. as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question. I want you all to send me your answer quickly as possible. And then once you've sent the answer, I'm going to come to Dan so he can decide what he's going to do. Whether he's going to attack, whether he's going to defend, blah,
Do
blah.
we have a special
Ready?
ability?
No, you don't.
Yeah,
You just,
your
you just
special
do a lot of
ability is
damage.
called Shut Up.
Right, here we go. Ready? Question 1. The first Final Fantasy game was released on the... Of course it's themed, isn't it? You haven't picked up on that, you fucking idiot. The first
give us a chance.
The first Final Fantasy game was released on the Nintendo Entertainment System in which year in Japan? Was it A, 1989, B, 1986, C, 1990, or D, 1987? Go.
Do you see how quick I messaged that, by the way?
Very quick, Dan. Okay. You have all locked your answers in. Okay, that's good. Well done. Dan, over to you. So now you've got to decide, do you think Lewis and Alex have got that right or wrong? Do you want to defend? Do you want to take the initiative and attack?
I'm going to attack.
You're going to attack for 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Dan's attacking for 1 point. So that means if he gets it right, Lewis and Alex are down to 4 HP.
Each.
We'll be there.
You're
we're
one entity. You're a
two-headed.
two-headed monster.
We've got 2 heads. 2 heads.
You didn't listen to the law. Okay. So, I can tell you, Dan, you've got that right. The correct answer is 1987. Lewis, you also got it right. So you dished back 1 damage point. Alex, you got it wrong. So that means
4 each.
go. You've got 1. You're both down to 4 points. Here we go. Good. That's worked. that's worked so far. Absolutely ravaged there. All right, next. Next round. Here we go. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Danny, you listening? Okay, next round. Get ready. Get ready with the keyboard. These are your answers. In Final Fantasy VII, what is the name of Barrett's eco-terrorist group? Is it A, Avalanche, B, Apache, C, Agincourt, or D, Argos? Okay, I've got 2 answers. I've got all 3 answers. Everyone has answered. Okay, Dan, what do you want to do, son?
I'm going to use my
Defend?
summon.
You're going to use your big summon, pulling out the big gun. Oh, the power of Narcissus. Okay, Dan has brought down. So, Dan is completely shielded. Whether you got this right or wrong, he's shielded now. And he's doing 2 points of damage. If he gets it right. Of course, and even I knew this, the answer is Avalanche. It was A, Avalanche. And I can tell you, Dan, that Lewis and Alex both said Apache.
How'd you get that wrong?
I've never played
They're
it.
idiots. They're idiots. So, Dan, you've done 2 chunks of damage
But
there.
wasted
So
his,
now,
wasted his thing.
there we go. No, but he's got you down. You're down to 2. You're on the ropes. Dan is still on 4 HP. Lewis and Alex on 2. It's all on you guys now. As we go into the third turn of this intense boss battle. Here we go. I'm enjoying this far too much.
You'd be a
Okay.
good games master. We should do a D&D.
We should be more nerdy. We should embrace it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great neck beard.
Next question. Which recurring character was described by producer Hironobu Sakaguchi as the Yoda of the series? Was it A, Kate Sith, B, Ifrit, C, Sid, or D, Cloud? Go. First one is in. Second one is in. All right, everyone has said their answers. I can tell you now this is going to be interesting. Dan, what do you want to do? Do you want to attack? Do you want to defend? Those are your options. You've used your summons already.
So if both of them get it right, I take 2 damage.
Yeah. And you are currently on 4 HP. They are on 2 HP.
I'm going to attack.
He's going to go for the jugular. He's going to attack. Got to respect that. You have to respect that.
Have to
man.
respect it. I respect that.
Lewis lashing back. Lewis was ineffective though because he said Cloud. Cloud. So Lewis, swing and a miss from Lewis. Alex, on the other hand, was correct, and he said
Thought you'd
Sid,
get it.
as did Dan. So you've taken 1 point off each other there. So Dan, you're down to 3 HP. Alex and Lewis, the 2-headed monster,
On 2.
you're down to 1. 1 HP. So Dan, you could win it here. You could get that KO in this round.
Who's your summons?
I
You
summon
know,
Ifrit.
you do 2 damage.
Yeah.
I went my
Yeah,
Phoenix.
so you
I'm sorry.
If
I
you-
summon Ganondorf.
if you get these right now, this question, both of you get it right, and Dan gets it wrong, you're even.
I'm gonna
there you go.
rise like a phoenix.
Okay.
That's a Rocket League song.
Out of the ashes.
Right. Trying to pick an interesting question here that will keep things interesting.
Pick one from like a question that's like about 20 hours into the game where
Yeah.
Dan won't know.
Nobody's going to
Who-
validate the answers. Just make it interesting.
Who was the main protagonist in Final Fantasy V?
Off.
Was it Squall Lionheart, Firion, Terra Branford, or Bart's Klauser?
Can you see that again?
Apologies if you're listening at home. No, I can't say it again. You've got 5 seconds to go.
I yelp. I didn't even hear it.
A, B, C, or D.
I don't even know if I gave you the full answer. I just heard the word and picked that word. So
I love that. These answers are just completely random. Let's see what the answer is. Yep, as I suspected. Good. So, I can tell you nothing. Dan, what do you want to do?
So what choices are? I can attack or defend.
So, you can defend to save yourself 1 HP, or you can attack to dish out 1 HP.
So that means one of us has got it
Obviously,
right.
if you're wrong, then whatever you choose will be ineffective. And if these guys are wrong, whatever they choose will be ineffective.
I'm not confident. I'm going to defend.
It's defending for 1 point.
let's hope we both got it right, Lewis.
Well, I think one of us got it. I think one of us got it right here. Because
Surely
Ben
one of you
said
got it
one,
right.
1 point, which I think means he gave Dan a clue, saying that he'd get 1 hit there. If you lose
We'll
1
find
point,
out.
we'll say you
We'll
lose
find
2.
out.
Let's find
I
out.
can tell you,
Let's find out.
Dan chose Terra Branford.
I think 6.
Alex chose Squall Lionheart.
That's
And
wrong.
Lewis chose B. So you're all wrong. The actual answer
Yeah.
was Bart's Klauser.
Ah,
or
was it?
Closer. Who knows?
It was what? That's,
So,
I was starting to write Bart, but I ran out of time.
Yeah,
So it was D. So that means it's still all to play for. Dan, you're on 3 HP. Alex and Lewis are on 1 HP still, so let's go to another question. Bring it on. You're up against the ropes, boys. Let's see what happens. Kind of right. It all
You keep reminding me of that man, where he's like the Australian guy with the dog.
Yes, that's exactly who's in my head. He came running over, running.
The wife's.
Right.
Okay.
It comes down to this. Which of these is not a character that appears in Final Fantasy X or X-2?
Or 2. Shit.
10 or X-2.
10 or 10. Okay.
A. Tidus. 2. Zidane. A. Tidus. 2. A. Tidus. B. Zidane. C. Riku. Or D. Lulu.
You know what I meant
5
by...
seconds, go.
I'll clarify it, but...
Yeah. Bit of an easier one, that one, to be fair.
Is it?
So, all the answers are locked in. Dan, what are you going to do? You're going to go for the jugular? Or are you going to play it safe?
I want to go for
Entirely
the
up to you.
juggly bear, please.
Going to go for the jugular. Dan has chosen to attack for 1 HP. So if he gets it right, well, that's game over, basically.
We've got a second
so let's-
phase.
So I can tell you, Dan. Dan went for Zidane. Lewis also went for Zidane.
Zidane tribal.
Alex went for Riku,
Riku's in it.
which is incorrect. Zidane is correct. Dan does 1 damage and finishes off the 2-headed monster of Alex and Lewis. Congratulations, Dan. It's death animation. There we go. Victory music. Congratulations, Dan. You've proved yourself to be a font of knowledge.
Look at
A
myself.
Final fantasy.
Just wait till we
Well done.
return in our ultimate form.
Mega bastard.
Like,
They'll be back.
Then we evolve into mega cunt.
oh, bloody hell.
Wow.
C-bombs? What time is it? 25 past 10. That's right. Okay.
Bitter. We had a nice time, Alex. Don't ruin it. That's it. That's it from me. That's all I had for ideas.
That was great. That was
done.
fantastic, mate. Brilliant. Thank you.
Enjoy
Apart
that.
from the complete character assassination at the start, which was purposeful. So, yeah, it's fine.
All fun and games. All said with love.
What's that, love? I'll take it. I dish it out enough, so.
Totally. Back over to you, Boo.
Just a winner, wasn't I? Just a winner. Lads, that was fantastic. Clicks for Ben, please. Clicks for Ben. Come on. Some effort.
Oh, please.
Here we go.
Please.
Number 1 Kojima fan right there.
He is the number 1 Kojima fan. He hasn't even played a Kojima game, so I don't even know what the fuck's he put on.
Death Stranding. So
Doesn't really count.
How much is Death Stranding?
I played it all on hard. So
Look at that. While you were hard. So, thank you for listening to our inane ramblings this week. If you're a regular listener and fancy getting a bit more involved with our fellow players, our social links are pretty simple. I'm going to do what Laurie does. Simple and easy to remember. Just go to thecrossplayers.com / the Discord to go to Discord, or you can go to youtube.com / thecrossplayers, or you can go to Twitter and search for the Crossplayers. Or if you want to, if you're so inclined, any of the social media outlets, if you put the Crossplayers in there, it's really simple. You just need to put the I feel like Neil Warnock. You just need to put the Crossplayers in, and that is literally it.
Sound like
That's
him.
all you need to do. Do you say I sound like him? It's because I'm northern. That's it. That's been everything. We need to go through our patrons. Ethan Hunt, Steve Sticky Simpson, Nate Ellingsworth, Carl Hughes, Sean Hughes, Jason Frost, Sarah Perbrick, Rebecca Rudrinath, Luke Cooper, Kevin Scully, Mark Hammond, Rune Storm, Phil Marshall, Lalina DeSaltos, Eamon Macaulay. I've got through them all this week. There was no silly ones.
well done.
Well done.
Someone's trying to write something in there. IP freely or something would it be next time? Ben, pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much for blessing us with your time this week. Alex, Lewis.
Thank you.
I know
Thank
you
you for
guys are. You're always free, aren't you? So
Yeah,
pretty
basically.
much free all the time, so it's okay. But Ben, thanks, mate. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening.
Ah.
Bye.
Dan, 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 dan.